Hi, I'm Sheri from Whole Circle Studio, and welcome to the Starry Signs Block of the Month and Quilt Sew-Along. I'm so happy that you're joining us on this fun foundation paper piecing adventure. Today, I'll share some tips to help you start your Starry Signs quilt blocks with confidence. These tips will be useful for all of the blocks in the series, starting with the first one, the Capricorn constellation block. If you're new to foundation paper piecing or you're a bit rusty, be sure to refer to the foundation paper piecing tips included on the last page of the pattern, as well as my free mini class videos, one on general foundation paper piecing and another video tutorial on smaller, tiny paper piecing. The links are below. I highly recommend checking them out, especially if you're new to paper piecing or if you've had some challenges with this technique in the past. It has lots of extra paper piecing prep and sewing tips, including how to tackle angles when piecing. Also, what we review today is applicable to all of the blocks, so you may want to come back to this video while you're working on future blocks. Before we get into it, have you decided what size quilt you're going to be making with your Starry Signs blocks? No rush, you don't need to decide right now, but let me give you just an overview of the layout options. All of these are also in the welcome PDF packet. Runners, throw, twin, and queen size quilts all use constellation blocks 1 through 12. And some of the layouts, like the throw, the twin, and the queen, also use the moon and stars center panel, as well as the optional cloud corners. Both of those patterns are included in your registration, and links to download will then be available later this year. The twin and the queen sizes require the purchase of the Starry Signs add-on patterns, totally optional, either more stars, a cityscape, mountain range, and they're sold separately. The borders are added onto your Starry Signs throw quilt top, and by doing those, you'll gain experience with large-scale foundation paper piecing if you select the city or mountain add-on borders. And I have a special video with tips for large-scale foundation paper piecing. I'll include that link below as well. Another alternative is keeping each block separate as a mini quilt and use them in other projects, or even frame them as a work of art. I can't wait to see what you do with your blocks. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty and some helpful reminders. When you're printing your pattern pages, make sure that your printer settings are set to print at 100% or actual size. I can't stress this enough, and it's easy to forget this sometimes. Printers will play tricks and print slightly smaller, which can throw off your block sizes. If this happens, you may not know it until you finish your block, and your pieces may not fit together because they won't be the proper size. This is heartbreaking. It's really important to measure the 1-inch block on every single piece of page. And I want to confirm that it does measure exactly 1 inch. If it measures 1 inch exactly, that means that your pages are indeed printed out at 100% or actual size. I get asked a lot if this pattern is compatible with the freezer foundation paper piecing technique. And if you're not sure what this is, I have a link to a video mini class below. And while I love using freezer paper for foundation paper piecing some projects, for this quilt, I just use regular paper. And the reason being, I'm only making one of each block type. For this quilt, I find that it's just easier to rip out the paper versus spending time to manually trace on freezer paper. That said, if you love using freezer paper or some other method of foundation paper piecing, go for it. So I went ahead, I printed out my patterns, and I print on a letter size newsprint that I purchased pretty inexpensively by the ream. There's lots of foundation paper piecing papers out there. You want to pick something that works well with your printer, and this works well with mine. So if you're curious, I'm going to put a link below to where you can purchase this paper. That said, for many, many years, I just used plain computer paper, white paper that was very thin, and I had no issues with that. I do find that using this slightly thinner newsprint, it is easier to take the paper out later, but use whatever you have and whatever you're comfortable with. So once I have all my papers printed for the block, my pattern pages, I'm going to go ahead and trim my paper pieces all out on the outer thinner lines. So I have a rotary cutter that I have dedicated for paper use only. I know my yellow is paper only, and I use the edge of my ruler to trim. Of course, you can use scissors if you're more comfortable with that. So here's one of my trimming tips with the foundation, with the rotary cutter. Since I know that the distance between the outer thinner line of these pattern pieces and the inner thicker line is 1/4 inch, which is a standard seam allowance size, I actually like to align the 1/4 inch mark on my ruler on that inner thicker line and then trim, rather than trying to match up the edge of my ruler to that outer thinner line. And I just find that that shadow is really sometimes kind of hard to see. The line, the ruler casts a strange shadow. So again, I'm just still cutting right on the outer thinner line, but I'm using my 1/4 inch mark, and I find it easier to align it on the inner thicker line. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim. So you could see I cut right on that outer thinner line. Again, while I trim this way, trim whichever way is most comfortable for you. And I'm going to go ahead and just trim out each piece like that, all the way around. Sometimes for sides that are really short, I'll just grab my paper scissors. So you could certainly also just mix and match your cutting techniques. So I'll go ahead and do that for each of my paper pieces. Speaking of organization, in each block I included a key for you to tape or to glue your fabric swatches to. This makes it easy to stay organized and use the right fabric in the right section. And this is good whether you're using the chart to pre-cut your fabrics or not. You'll notice that the chart has some corresponding shading that's also in the paper pieces. So all of the stars are shaded in a dark gray. All of the lines connecting the stars are shaded in a light gray, and the background is unshaded. You'll also find coloring sheets for all of the layout options in the welcome packet. If you're cutting and labeling your fabric according to the cutting chart, it's easy to stay organized and to ensure that each fabric piece is assigned to the correct section. The fabric sizes listed in the cutting charts are already calculated to be about 3/4 inch larger than the sections they need to cover. For beginners, you may feel more comfortable cutting pieces slightly larger than listed, but the provided measurements will work as long as the fabric is positioned correctly. Here's how. After you position your first fabric for section 1, which is simply just secured to the paper piece using water-soluble glue in my case, or you can use a pin, and when you're ready to sew, you're going to position the fabric piece for the section that you're covering so that its raw edge is parallel to the fold of the paper and 1/4 inch away from that fold. The raw edge of the new fabric should also align with the raw edge of the fabric from the previous section, again, keeping it 1/4 inch away from that fold. I go into further detail about this technique, including some tips for figuring out how to position the fabric pieces from side to side, especially when there's funky angles. That's all in my foundation paper piecing basics tutorial and mini class, and you could find that link below. Be sure to check it out. In some cases, especially sections with funky angles, it may seem like the pre-cut fabric won't cover the section, but I assure you, if you're cutting from the cutting chart, it will. Just remember to position the raw edge of the new fabric parallel to the fold, 1/4 of an inch in. You may need to shift it left to right for this section to be covered. And again, I review this in the free mini class with the link below. And you may have to remember, not necessarily for this fabric piece, but for others, covering that section may be rotating the fabric. So again, if you are cutting from the cutting chart, I promise you all the fabric sections will cover those paper piece sections. You may also find, as in the case with this piece, once you're done paper piecing, you're going to have extra fabric around the edges. Once I trim to the edges of the fabric here, I'll be able to use these extra scrap pieces in future blocks. If you're a more experienced paper piecer, you may decide not to pre-cut your fabric according to the cutting chart, as there are definitely more efficient ways to cut. The pre-cut fabric measurements included in this pattern assures that everyone has enough fabric to cover all of their sections when piecing. One other note, depending on your printer, it may be challenging to see the shading differences between the sections. So you may want to make a note, if you're not using the cutting charts to cut your fabric, you may want to note on your paper pieces what type of fabric you'll need, whether it is for the star or whether it's for the line, so you use the right color fabric. One of the benefits of pre-cutting your fabric and using the cutting chart is that you label as you cut, and it takes all the guesswork out of shading. So you can just grab your fabric and sew. I know some quilters might be concerned about some of these thinner sections and that the block might be too bulky because of overlapping seam allowances. A couple of things. First of all, it will definitely be less bulky later when we remove the paper. But for now, I just make sure I give my pieces a really good press with a hot iron as I work before I add on new sections. I'm going to be giving more pressing tips later in the sew along. Rest assured, I've foundation paper pieced hundreds of quilts that I've quilted on my domestic machine, and the little bit of extra bulk at these seams have never been an issue. I also know lots of quilters who free motion quilt and long arm quilt at high speeds, foundation paper pieced quilts, and they have beautiful results, even if the quilt top seams seem a little bit bulky. After all of your paper pieces A through J are complete, and you trim the fabric at the outer edges like I have here, you may find out that you can use your leftover fabric scraps to paper piece future blocks. Here are some of my fabric scraps that I have left over from cutting out these pieces. I like to hang on to these scraps, typically anything larger than 1.5 inches square, as it allows me to be more efficient with my overall fabric usage. I could use these for blocks that are upcoming. One of the great things about these wonky constellation quilt blocks is that there are no critical alignments when you're joining these paper pieces. So you don't have to worry about seams matching. You just match up the ends and sew, and your block will be complete. I can't wait to see your first blocks come together. Thank you again for being here and for sewing along with us. I'll be back next month with even more tips. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new tutorial. Also, let's inspire one another. Be sure to share your quilt block progress with me. Email me a high-res photo of your block so I could share it in my online gallery. My email address can be found in the pattern. Or share your photo on Instagram and be sure to tag me so I don't miss your post. See you next month and happy sewing.